My child, please keep silent for a moment. Heaven has temporarily halted all activities in order to contact you. At this precise moment, a secret call is being sent between my heart and yours. Currently, the curtain is thin. The background noise in your life has been muffled so that only one voice can be heard. This is clearly not a little window, It will not be operational for a long duration. I would like you to give me with these moments, from the first word to the last. Do not turn away. I've tried to speak with you before, but the message I have to convey now is more important than anything you've heard in a long time. You're aware of this, even if you've never spoken it aloud. Small whispers were heard, which you were unable to explain. Subtle prods emerged suddenly. Dreams that were too real to be simply dreams. Conversations that stayed in your head for days after they ended. You awoke in the early hours of the morning. I was immediately alert, my heart thumping, and certain that a huge change was about to occur. A knowing that was everything but ordinary washed over you as you stood in the middle of a routine day. A sudden silence has descended over your chest. A pull you couldn't name. That was not frightening. Oh, I was the one that made it through the din of your day. Your day, you declined each time. You described it as tension, You put these incidents down to worry. You disregarded it as the consequence of a tired mind pulling a trick. The word I had prepared for that specific point in your life, the word bearing your name, went unnoticed. I'm currently speaking. I'm not recounting this to shame you. I'm giving this information so that you can understand why the changes happened today. Today, I made certain that all required plans were in place to ensure that you could not overlook me. You have not been taken away due to any disruption. At the moment, there are no pressing problems. That's not an accident. I was personally monitoring this hour. I am speaking directly to you, not to a crowd or a large group of individuals. Please pay strict attention. To the person whose heart is currently beating at a slightly faster rate. The person who feels an unexplained sensation. Your spirit recognizes my voice, even though your mind is still deciding whether or not to embrace it. I have 2 words for you today. One is a word of correction, which I will not soften because you require the entire message. The other is a commitment that goes above and beyond what you've asked for. Both are correct and useful to you. Furthermore, both require that you remain with me until I finish my speech. Indeed, my demeanor is authoritative today. My voice carries a passion that you may not be accustomed with. Avoid misconceptions. A father who sits silent as his child approaches a cliff does not show affection for that child. I am too loyal to you to keep silent. The proof is in my firmness. Recently, an incident was witnessed by the sky. You're already aware of my point. Something inside you is reacting when these words reach you. No, the faint tug you're feeling is not due to this message impacting your thinking. My spirit validates the feelings that your heart has cherished for days. Your peace has been disturbed, your prayers have been heavy in your mouth, and you have had a low level of unrest from morning until night. You have been curious as to why. You told yourself that it was insignificant. It wasn't insignificant. I was the one who pressed on your feelings, refusing to let you slip away without hearing from me. However, this must be understood before taking any other action. I am not en route to condemning you. Your condemnation crushes and lands you in the mud, whereas my correction raises you. It grabs your hand, spins you, and sets your feet firmly on the ground. There is a distinction, and you will be able to feel it in your bones by the end of this speech. Furthermore, there is more to this than simply correcting. I've been holding a door for you that goes beyond this nasty word. A favor that you did not earn is waiting behind it. A recuperation that surpassed expectations, as well as a profound peace that would appear odd at first. I will supply you with a detailed summary of the situation, but the door is only accessible by a single path that leads to the truth. As a result, I ask you directly, would you wish to remain? Will you allow me to express both the tough and the lovely in the same hour? When my voice stops flattering them, a large proportion of people withdraw. However, you are still here. That indicates an aspect of your personality that I find appealing. It shows that you are not seeking solace in isolation. You are searching for the truth. Furthermore, a heart that is capable of absorbing truth is one that I can entrust with important tasks. That is less prevalent than you may think. Kings have been lacking in this regard. You are currently displaying it by staying in place. The hours that lie ahead of you differ from those that lie behind you. Something is already in action. I am currently installing components that are not visible to you as you listen. I've spent a long time planning for this day, and you're almost there. Do not rush past this moment in the same way you rushed past the others. Allow it to slow your development. Allow it to sink deeply into your being. Under the surface, you are accountable for the performance of others. I don't address the superficial. I communicate with people who are real. I am the only person who is completely familiar with you. Therefore, take a big breath, my beloved. Relax your grip on any items you were holding when this term was mentioned to you. The assignments will be postponed. Concerns will be postponed. For the remainder of the period, my voice is the only presence in your heart, and the space between them is pristine. At that point, the metamorphosis of everything begins. I'll start with the most difficult term because the truth is not reduced by its delay. The harsh statement will make the pledge more meaningful than it would have been otherwise. That is how I work. First the root and then the fruit. Begin with the rotation, then the blessing. If you are satisfied that this word has struck a chord with the suitable person, state your agreement aloud. Immediately, the terrible reality will be revealed. You made a decision that your conscience warned you against. You breached a barrier that you were aware existed. Heaven noticed and documented it. I did not remain silent throughout the occurrence. You felt my paws pressing against your will at that point, yet you kept moving forward. Do not act in haste to defend oneself. Refrain from using the rationalizations you've been practicing. I'm already acquainted with each of them, and I'm aware of the reality hidden beneath them. Argumentation is not permitted during this time. It is for the sake of honesty, which is my only need for you at this time. Understand the actual events as they did not start at the area you expected. This did not start with your hands. It began with a thought. You permitted a thought to percolate in your mind despite the fact that it was incompatible with my peace. You provided it with nourishment. Despite your awareness that it should be deleted, you allowed it to remain longer than an hour. That tiny sum quietly grew. The concept evolved into a disposition. The leaning evolved into a decision. The decision was turned into an action which opened a door in the unseen realm that should have stayed closed. The door was invisible to you, but you could feel a draft coming through it, causing a shiver in your spirit that has lasted ever since. This is the constant operational procedure. It is impossible for a person to descend simultaneously. Each one is easily accounted for because they fluctuate by little amounts. Well, each modest warning ignored makes it easier to reject the next one. Hearing gets less keen as it is diminished one ear at a time. That is the route you have chosen, and that is precisely why I interrupted you today. While my rage is legitimate, it is critical to recognize its target. It is not directed at you. It is aimed at the way, the thing that stretched out to you, and the gradual disaster that I could see looming ahead down that road. When a shepherd sees a wolf orbiting, he does not whisper. He raises his voice. The seriousness in my voice today is a shepherd's call intended to protect you. I'd ask you to consider an additional point. I refrain from resolving issues that are unrelated to me. The field that a farmer ignores is the one he has abandoned. He expects a harvest from the tree that he walks, prunes, and clears. You're being corrected because you're valued. This clear statement provides the most dependable assurance that I have not abandoned you. I'd also like to advise you of the precise actions that this error did not carry out. Your call was not terminated. Your worth was not reduced by a single amount. It did not lessen my feelings for you, nor did it lead me to withdraw my eyes. Your instructions were changed, and I have resolved to correct this. A traveler who is taking the wrong way is not worthless. He is simply en route to a destination. I am not willing to give you up. However, don't let your comfort lead to recklessness. Your acts were significant. It disturbed the momentum I was building in your life. You could feel the interior transition in which calm was replaced by uncertainty and clarity by obscurity. That was the truth spoken by your spirit. Despite the fact that your mouth kept silent, the most serious harm you are currently facing is not the wrong itself. It inspires confidence. Pride will let you know that this term is intended for someone else. Pride will convince you that it isn't so serious that everyone does it, and that you can handle it on your own. Pride has led more resilient people than you to places from which they will never return. Do not let it speak for you today. As you listen to this, you feel oppressed. I am aware that you are experiencing it. It is not intended to make you crumble. It is meant to awaken you. It carries the weight of conviction, which is a mercy. Confusion goes in circles, whereas conviction focuses on a single subject and declares, "This is the issue. Address it." I've made it very clear because I'm adamant that you don't miss it. As a result, you are currently confronted with a decision, which I will clearly identify. You have the option of humbling yourself, listening to me, and allowing me to guide you back, or hardening, turning away, and walking in your own strength. I will not coerce you. I've never coerced you. However, I will tell the truth about the second route. It produces stillness, which is an ineffective guide in the absence of light. The fact that you are still listening suggests that your heart is drawn to a specific route. The leaning is more important to me than the mistake ever was. I am not looking for those who are invincible to falling. I am looking for those who, when they hear my voice, stop in their tracks and turn around. You are currently rotating despite the observed reduction. This is obvious to me. Remember the shepherd ruler, who suffered an even bigger defeat than you. He took what was not his, hid it, and referred to it as the covering piece for a while. However, when my words eventually hooked him, he refused to argue. He said 4 words: "I have sinned against you." This breach of honesty opened the way for pardon that his crown could never buy. I'm looking for just 4 words from you, not a display of sadness or prolonged self-punishment, but the basic truth given from the heart, with nothing hidden behind your back. That is the point at which each restoration in my people's history began, and yours will be no exception. There is still a great deal that I need to show you. I will illustrate the precise way for closing a previously opened door. I will show you the pattern that lies underlying this stumbling block in order to keep it from impacting you in the future. When the ground is clear, I will reveal the information that I have been eager to transmit into your life. Please remain with me. Whisper, the turning has already begun. If you receive this correction with an open heart, I will listen. It is now time for me to take you back step by step. I respectfully beg that you follow each step without deviation. The distance to your target is shorter than you think, but it must be traveled with integrity or it will not be completed at all. The first measure is to be honest with oneself. State the incident in its entirety without explanation. Avoid dressing up or compressing it. The ability of what is challenged in the light to hide itself in the shadows is reduced. What remains hidden retains its hold. Bring it all out in front of me, and you will begin to feel its hold loosen the instant you remove the inner voice that keeps rationalizing why it happened. Justification is a chain dressed for comfort. You are irrevocably attached to the object for as long as you defend it. Honesty severs the rope. It is unnecessary for you to win in a disagreement with me. You are simply required to tell me the truth. I am already aware of the facts and have devised a solution to conquer it. The second stage is to purposefully direct your attention to me rather than inadvertently. Please don't treat me like the weather. Make an attempt to see me. Please speak with me in the same way you would with a trusted father. Then remain immovable and let the quiet to carry out its gradual, profound work. Something will shift amid the silence. It'll be as real to you as the wrong turn was. The draft from the open door will diminish. The turbulence will subside. The sound of a door closing, my hand on the latch, and your pulse all in sync. What was mistakenly opened is now carefully closed. In addition, there is a third stage, which is frequently rejected. You need to forgive yourself, not excuse yourself. There's a distinction. Devotion is not characterized by guilt that remains after repentance. It's a burden I never asked you to shoulder, and it binds you to a situation I've already resolved. I'm not keeping this information from you. Keep it to yourself. Who are you to keep entangling yourself in chains after I have set you free? Lift your cranium. The account has been resolved via my mercy, not your hardship. The time for your sadness had arrived, and it was effective. Its current hour has expired. Hiding in the past is not a sign of humility moving forward. It is unbelief, and I ask that you abandon it. Before I go to examine the subsequent occurrences, I have one final question for you about your confidence. My child, I ask that you give a piece of your things, something of true value, to the altar of this labor as if it were gold on the scales of this calling. It should be a seed put in deep water, an offering set on stone and not held back in fear. This demonstrates that you have placed your trust in my ability to supply and that your heart is no longer attached to a sense of poverty. What you give up in faith remains in your existence. It moves ahead of you into the harvest, which I am currently preparing. Consider the widow I saw at the treasury in the past. Others offered their surplus without emotion. She donated 2 little coins, the sum of her belongings, and heaven continues to mention her. I was never impressed by the quantity. It was an open palm. The stance of an outstretched hand represents a heart that has stopped protecting itself from its parent. I'm now instilling the same open-handedness in you in all parts of life. A hand that can receive also has the ability to release. This is why the corrective and promise are integrated in one word. During the turning, your hands are empty of what was never yours to possess. The benediction instills them with the essence of what has always existed. Understand the difference between a pattern and an error, as it is necessary for the next phases. A mistake is a single stumble on the road. A road in itself is a pattern. You've walked so many times that your feet no longer ask about your destination. The incident that occurred to you was a mistake, but I noticed a pattern emerging beneath it, which is the more serious issue that I am currently addressing. You had overcome your inner doubt before. Even now, you remember the prior situations. Although each compromise appears little, it is analogous to a seed, and it grows in the dark with the same vigor that a good seed does in the field. I'm removing this one while the root is still superficial. This does not constitute severity. That individual is a cultivator who understands the plant's potential. Therefore, refrain from just expressing regret for the action. Examine the gateway via which it entered. It is clear that your mind is prone to fast shifting away from this word in order to distract your attention, change the subject, or study another issue. That restlessness is not a coincidence. Distraction replaces reflection, and growth is postponed. Stay in this moment until the lesson has completely absorbed you, and be mindful of it. The purposeful moment has now completed what the casual moment began. I have closed the door. Churning has been minimized. Well, your self-imposed sentence has been lifted. You are no longer on trial. You are in training, and there is a distinction. A prisoner is awaiting the passage of time. A sun is being built in advance of the next events. At this time, my voice undergoes a functional metamorphosis. What the correction was intended to do has been accomplished. I will now begin the process of rebuilding, starting with the solitary skill that could have saved you from all of this. The ability to recognize my own voice in comparison to others. So, pay close attention. Please be cautioned that the following teachings will serve as a protection for the rest of your life. It is not difficult to find my voice. It is easy to drown. Before making a decision, I use a quiet voice. I talk with a sudden apprehension that has no clear explanation. I express my thoughts with calmness rather than anxiety. You have heard me more frequently than you realize. The present goal is to become so familiar with that sound that no counterfeiter can imitate it. This is the first sign of my voice, and I wish for you to keep it for the rest of your life. My guidance is calm, but it is not always easy or comfortable. I occasionally raise challenging questions, but they are always grounded in fact. When there is peace, you are free to move. When the peace fades, stay in your current position. Peace is more than just a sensation that I convey to you. I communicate with a signal. You have previously encountered that signal. You felt it depart right as we were talking. One breath before, there was silence, followed by tension, and then you moved. Never again see that tumult as a mood to be endured. There is a watchman stationed on the wall, and the gates must be closed when the watchman calls, not fought with. My voice leads, and there is another mark. No, it doesn't push. I rarely have the urgency that requires immediate action without contemplation or prayer. I set a time and never miss it. When anything is authentic and comes from me, it requires a pause. Your haste was the foundation of what could not tolerate a pause, and whatever that relies on your haste is wary of your clarity. Incorporate the pause into your everyday routine before making a decision, responding, or taking action. Pause for a moment and inquire. Not all pauses require an hour. Sometimes a single inhale of truth is enough to clear the cloud. The problem we observed today happened at the intended halt point. From now on, protect that region as if it were a treasure, because that is exactly what it is. I'd like to talk about your attention, which is the entryway to your entire existence. You are influenced by what you see. Anything that is nourished thrives, whereas anything that is deprived grows feeble. On the surface, there are seemingly benign voices and influences. Nonetheless, each one leaves a residue that builds. Some of the things you've allowed to be in close proximity to you in recent years have steadily detracted from your aims. I'm not asking you to be concerned about the world. I'd like you to keep the gate operational. Everything that deserves your attention should be addressed with a single concise query. Does this mean that my proximity to my father has increased or decreased? The response will be sent unexpectedly quickly. You have repeatedly realized that the problem is not discernment, but rather a lack of decision-making. Certain items must be avoided, as I will demonstrate. Please refrain from lamenting them. It's not a loss. It is pruning, and it is done on branches that are meant to produce more fruit, not branches that have reached their full capacity. When the vine dresser sliced, the vine prepares rather than contracts. Also, be cautious of the words you say to yourself while no one is listening. I've never been as brutal as that inner voice has been to you or to any of my foes. It refers to you as a failure, whereas I refer to you as my offspring. It keeps replaying your most distressing day, although I have already destroyed of that record. Beginning now, answer to that voice with the words I say. Allow your thoughts to be refreshed until they speak the truth. Since this is the true essence of transformation, not the accumulation of effort, but the slow retraining of the mind to align with the divine. When your ideas are aligned with my reality, your decisions become effortless, much like a wheel follows the path. This is why I start my work from within. The stream will flow freely once the spring has been fixed. I'd like to discuss discipline because you've had an unpleasant experience with the phrase, and I'm ready to restore its original flavor. Discipline is not a type of limitation. Discipline is defined solely by consistency. It is the act of taking the same ethical path of conduct on bad days as on good days. No one can reach a condition of equilibrium. It is created one moment at a time, and I am currently building it within you. Initially, you will not feel strong. This is to be expected and does not indicate a failure. This form of strength develops similarly to that of an oak, with no large events or commotion, yet it stays unyielding throughout time. The root becomes more profound with each pause and inquiry. Turning away from the improper voice causes the trunk to thicken. Slow development should not be hated. Slow growth is sustainable, and it is critical to understand the underlying goal of all of this training. I am not causing you to be too careful. I wish to be unambiguous. There are true instances on your life's calendar where a single decision can have a major influence. Doors will remain unlocked and must be opened without hesitation. There will be additional unlocked doors that must be denied without hesitation. The ability you are now learning will be more valuable than silver on such days. This explains the timing of the correction. Not because your fall was too harsh for mercy, but because the future I have planned for you is too important to be overlooked. A dull blade is sharpened before the harvest, not during it. Assume that the sharpening is done today. If you pay attention, you will see the difference right away. While my words have enveloped you, your thoughts have become more peaceful. The fog you took with you into this hour has lifted. These words did not cleanse themselves. It is the unavoidable result of a heart's return to its home. Peace emerges spontaneously as alignment resumes. Preserve the emotions you are feeling right now and do not let the day take them away. This clarity does not represent a visitor. It is supposed to stay with you. Carry it into the small decisions first, the ones no one notices, and the great choices will find you ready when they arrive. I must now consider the years which have acted as a peaceful womb for us. You have questions that you no longer ask aloud. You disguise them beneath the veneer of civility in your prayers, but I sense them. What is the cause of the extended delay? Why did you choose them over me? Why does it look that others who have never sought you may easily pass me while I remain stationary? You saw people who began their projects decades after your arrival, and even before your arrival. You cheered their joys while concealing an agony beneath your grin. You offered a benediction over them with unwavering confidence, then returned home to reflect on your situation in isolation. I witnessed each of those events, and I didn't ignore any of them. There were evenings that were more difficult than them. There were moments when you wondered if you had misread me all those years before. You flipped the old promise in your hands like a coin you couldn't spend on nights. The path to a bigger life seemed to have evaporated, and you contemplated settling for a lesser life. You never directly expressed it in those words. It was unnecessary of you to do so. As a result, I will address the disguised inquiries in a direct manner, comparable to how a father confronts a mature child. Absence was never the reason of the delay. During that time, I was absent every single day. Furthermore, rejection was not the cause of the delay. You used my quiet as a measure of distance. It was more akin to the stillness of a craftsman too absorbed to talk, crouched over his job. Consider a field that has been left fallow for an extended period of time and is visible to all passers-by. It is inactive, yet active. It is now working on some of its most vital responsibilities. The landscape has been stabilized and rebuilt. What was expended is replenished. And when the planting season approaches, that serene field outperforms every acre that never had its season of tranquility. The years you concealed were not void. Both of these years were labeled fallow, and the difference was as large as the harvest. Consider the development of an amazing home. There is nothing to admire for months. Before ascending, the piece follows a downward slope. Deep, invisible incisions into the soil. Stones are placed beneath the location where any visitor will gaze. A passerby notices a hole and marks it as a failure. The builder senses a foundation and calls it wisdom. As the barriers are designed to rise, the period of unseen labor must increase. Measure your years of obscurity by that criterion, then review them. And you lamented the doors that closed on you, the ones you beat on until your palms ached, as losses. For years, you've lamented the loss of some of them. However, on the other side of those doors, I saw what was beyond. If certain ones had opened, you would have entered seasons that would have cost far more than the wait. I didn't forget to open them. I declined to do so. Love exists in a refusal that is only evident from a distance. Release those who passed you. Their harvest is not the same as yours, and their route is not your road. The vine does not envy the wheat because it was the first to be harvested. Each is introduced at a specific period. Furthermore, the subsequent gathering is not inferior. The converse is frequently true. What is most ripe stays the most mature. Allow this to relieve your worries about any name that has ever brought you trouble. Since you were unable to view the ledger, this is the real building that took place throughout those years. They implanted in you a level of compassion that comfort could never provide. You can now see the overlook because you are familiar with the seat. They built an endurance that is resistant to the first gust of harsh wind. They devised a strategy for creating trust in me with vacant hands that those who were filled early did not have to learn. These are not compensations for solace. These are the precise tools that will be used in the tasks that await you. The lengthy route also revealed one more fact that I'd like to share with you. You persisted, fatigued, inquiring, and bent. You persevered, albeit with difficulty. Are you aware of how rare that is? Many people withdrew from me owing to disappointments that were less serious than yours. You constantly brought yours into my presence and continued to speak to me from beneath it. Heaven does not reject such faithfulness. It is written in such a way that nothing is ever lost, and I am currently in the process of informing you of the ultimate purpose of this day. The dormant season is coming to an end rather than fading away as the years progress. The field has had enough time to recover. The foundation has been cured and can hold the weight for which it was excavated. What I started before you realized you needed it is nearing completion, and no force on earth or in heaven can stop it. This is why the adjustment couldn't be postponed. This is why I interrupted you today, and why my voice has been so strong. A man may meander down a long, flat road without causing major damage. At the bend, he must resist from drifting. You, my child, have arrived at a critical point. Everything I've taught you in this hour honesty, halt, guarded gait, and consistent discipline was designed for the task that lies ahead. I understand that passage of time has made your heart shiver at the thought of hope. I am aware that you have repeatedly poised yourself before withdrawing once more. As a result, I am not suggesting that you express an emotion. I'm asking for something that is both much larger and significantly smaller. Contrary to the evidence of the years, I stick by my declaration purely on the strength of my voice, much like a sailor who relies on a star that is out of reach. I trust you if you are willing to accept my word based on the evidence of the years and hear what is to come, as I do not send my children toward a horizon without first presenting them with the information they require. The benefit I have prepared is distributed in 3 distinct streams. Listen carefully to each person in order to recognize my hand when they arrive, rather than dismissing it as a coincidence. The early stream is abruptly favorable. This is when doors you've never knocked on start to open. You will make a modest gesture with the idea of obtaining nothing in return, but it will be rewarded with the good reception you were hoping for. In a single sentence, a seemingly boring conversation will morph into the connection your quest so sorely need. You will be on the minds of people who have never noticed you before, and they will be unable to explain why. Nevertheless, you will understand why. My children come after me. I use their names in rooms they have yet to enter. I incline hearts in the same way that a farmer turns water into a dry channel. Years of work that were insufficient to force open a single allotted moment will not remain at the threshold, wondering when it will happen. Identify it. Please express your gratitude and continue with the tour. Restoration is the second stream, and it is more fundamental than one may think. Items taken from you are returning, but not in the same way they were taken. They return with a larger sum. The technique in which seeds are returned during harvest. I'm compensating for the seasons that the devourer ate. That's not poetry, It's a vow that encompasses your identity. Dreams that were previously suppressed will reappear. You had a vision that was suppressed by circumstances many years ago. You voiced your sorrow and moved on with your life. However, in my possession, buried artifacts tend to change into planted objects. It is resurfacing, but in a more mature form that corresponds to the person you have become since you initially dreamed of it. There will also be some repairs. A voice that has fallen mute may try to communicate. Words that contradicted your expectations. An apology. The process of softening. Unexpectedly, an open door may appear in lieu of a wall. Understand the limitations of this commitment. What I decree has been restored. It's not everything you've lost. What was taken away from you as a kind of protection will not return. You will eventually express your gratitude for this. However, whatever is part of your trip will eventually return to its proper position. The third stream will surprise you the most because you have been without it for quite some time. You have lost the flavor. A great sensation of tranquility. The tight band around your chest that you've worn for a long time is now considered normal. The knot that is always twisted beneath your ribs. The ideas that encircle your bed at night like birds unwilling to settle. I am currently conversing with all of it and informing you that it is not your inheritance. Initially, you will see the transformation in subtle ways. You'll wake up one morning with no sense of foreboding. A circumstance that once engulfed your entire being will now pass over you like a storm that no longer impacts the home. The old fear will not arrive on time, therefore, you will have to wait for it. My presence, as well as that accusatory voice, will compensate for the absence. The person who has been pursuing you for years, telling you that you are too late, flawed, or too far behind. It has reached its expiration date. It will not be persuaded to stay silent, It will be replaced by a more genuine voice that will reinforce the feelings I have consistently conveyed toward you. You're mine. You were summoned. You are not falling behind since no one is walking in lockstep with me. Please take note of my statement on the time. I will not subject you to the same degree of uncertainty that you have previously encountered. Be on the lookout for early signs before the season ends. Not your entire harvest at once. The initial fruit, the early sign, and the definite contact of my hand are the sole indicators that the weather in your life has changed. Harvests do not happen in this manner. When it appears, recall this hour and the fact that I said it previous to its arrival. It is also vital to remember the purpose of wells after the streams begin to flow. This blessing is not meant to be used to build a stronger wall around a larger dwelling. It is intended to pass through you. Some people in your area are still dealing with the effects of a long winter. Souls you'll recognize since you've walked in their shoes. Encourage them with positivity. Donate in the same way that one has been given to. I regard what you pour out for my supplies to be poured out for me, and I am not in debt to anyone else. This has always been how my kingdom has operated. You received freely, now give freely. The metric you use to judge others becomes the metric you use to assess yourself. Run over, press down, and mix thoroughly. For far too long, you have been aware of the lack of abundance to accumulate it. Allow your plenty to inspire charity, just as your starvation once inspired compassion, and the stream will never stop flowing above your field. One caution, which I hope you will hear with the same seriousness with which I delivered it. When favor arrives rapidly, the old pattern will whisper once again. It will let you know that the daily return to me, halt, and stillness are no longer required. Empty hands are more likely to stray than full ones. Israel forgot about me during the years of affluence, despite the fact that I had been faithful to him throughout the years of adversity. Please refrain from recounting their story. Maintain the same level of proximity during harvest as you did during famine, and this bounty will not be a trap, for the goal was never the streams, my darling. The fountain was consistently the target. Favor is a God who is a poor but a faithful servant. If you have to pick between what nourishes your hands and what nourishes your spirit, choose me. You will find that by doing so, you have lost nothing worth saving. That is the secret that the truly blessed all share. Everything is handled gently with the exception of my hand. Nearly everything has been said. The most deep reality of all is unchanging. The reason this message has traveled through the heavens to reach you now, it is about your identification and the task I have assigned you. Remain with me for a short time to obtain the final portion. Here's the final truth, which serves as the foundation for everything I've said today. You've been selected. Not simply tolerated, not favored in a hazy sense, not one face lost in a multitude. Deliberately chosen by name for a purpose specific to your life. Now, this is why heaven interrupted your day. Nobody sends a message like this to a person of no consequence. Do not dismiss the term because you heard it at a reduced price or elsewhere. Being chosen isn't a decorative element. This is an assignment. Your name is related with work that is now taking place on earth. I've already prepared an excellent piece of work for you to submit. The ultimate goal of this term, commissioning, was never to bring comfort. Take courage from the pattern of folks I've already chosen. A fugitive who stammers must come before a monarch. When the prophet came to the house, a shepherd child was ignored by his own father. A fisherman whose lack of endurance prevented him from feeding my sheep in a crowded courtyard. I've never gone for the polished option. I select the willing and then do the polishing myself. Frequently, they were disqualified by the corrections they thought would disqualify them. Today, this was the case. You thought that this hour of correction would show that you had lost my respect. The converse was demonstrated. I avoid sharpening instruments that have been assigned for storage. I do not prune vines that have been pronounced obsolete. The fire in my voice today was not from rejection. The refiner kept the fire close to the silver that he intended to use. I've set the charge in front of you. Leave this hour in a way that is different from how you entered it. Maintain the integrity we have established today. Please avoid allowing any hidden topic to have a stronghold in your life. Maintain the delay. Please do not make any major decisions without informing me beforehand. And keep your eye on the gate. Maintain an open-minded attitude toward both giving and receiving, and only feed what you want to develop. The exams will happen. I won't try to hide the truth that I've never fooled you. There will come a moment when the old thought returns to the old door, dressed in new clothes and speaking in a pleasant voice. There will be times when you feel compelled to act before you can listen. These do not indicate my absence. These are the examinations that follow each authentic lesson, and you will pass them since you will not be tested as the person you were. When those days arise, put your newly acquired knowledge into action. Halt. Inhale. Before you take a single step, direct your emotions toward me and wait for stability. Walk forward if harmony is preserved. Stand motionless if peace is restored, even if the entire world mocks you for doing so. I've never disappointed anyone who waited for me, and I'm not going to start with you. And don't withdraw from my life for weeks if you stumble, for even the upright fall. That is an obsolete pattern that is no longer applicable. Please arrive immediately. If possible, please arrive in the middle of October. I've never closed the door between us. I prefer a youngster who hurries home with the truth in his mouth over one who hides himself until the humiliation festers into distant watch. The chosen do neither strut or grovel, regardless of how they behave in the face of others. They move with the serene confidence of those who are aware of their own identity. Allow the mercy you felt today to permeate your discourse. Be cautious in disclosing what others keep hidden, and be prompt in concealing what mercy can conceal. Primarily to give hope to people whom society has rejected. You will be able to recognize them. Yesterday, you were one of them. People who live in your area will exist. The people you pray for, or individuals whom you adore. Which of the following names have you mentioned to me more often than your own? I've heard every mention of them. Nothing I have been entrusted with is misplaced. Your obligation is not to act as their savior. It serves as their guidepost, a living answer that they can see. Physical evidence that the long trek was worthwhile. Certain sentences are promoted. The best part is that they were lived. I'll now collect all of the stuff I gave you today to make sure none of them fall to the ground. The error is acknowledged and corrected. Shut and seal the previously opened door. The pattern beneath it is labeled and fragmented. The years that humiliated you were rightly described as fallow ground and a solid foundation, not as failure. The 3 streams are en route. Favor, restoration, and tranquility. The preliminary evidence is offered before to the end of this season. In addition, you have been picked. Additionally, the assignment is legitimate. That is the whole of the term. The only thing that remains is to live. When my voice stops being heard, the living begins. Begin with the first modest decision you make, the first pause you take, and the first honest sentence you say to me tonight. Begin small. I shall meet you in it just as I have here. And if the darkness ever tries to convince you that this hour was just a fiction of your imagination, you'll be ready to respond. During the delivery of these words, recall the strong, burning sensation in your heart. The burning resulted in recognition. The sheep recognized the shepherd's speech. And you become familiar with my today from the first sentence to this one. So, my beloved child, get up right away. Lift your head, upright your shoulders, and return to your life as someone who has been sent, not someone who has been discarded. I'm here to advise you, to protect you, and to empower you. In the future, you will never walk alone. I have spoken, and my words do not return to me empty. It effectively completes the work I delegate to it. I sent it today to find, orient, and position you so that you face the correct horizon. It has accomplished this. Join me on a step-by-step journey from this hour to all of the hours I have scheduled. I acknowledge its receipt. We rely only on viewer support, assuming you are willing to rise and embark on the path I have planned for you. To access member-only material, scan the QR code or refer to the pinned comment. May God bless you. My beloved kid, please pay close attention because this is not a soft murmur from the skies. This warning is loud and comes at an exact moment. Archangel Michael is currently expressing his wrath out of a sense of urgency, not hatred. Heaven noticed something you said, did, or ignored, and this message was sent to you because your departure will have a greater influence than you realize. You may have already felt it in your spirit. Your thorax gets further compressed, and all sounds stop abruptly. This is not a coincidence or an external incident. It's a wonderful interruption. Archangel Michael looks to be moving forward with his weapon in hand and his voice rising. He is not there to hurt you or to relieve your distress. He is here to inform you of the truth. You were previously aware of the correct path of action, but you chose to do something else. Heaven takes a different approach to analyzing things, even if it does not appear relevant to you. What you thought was a solitary incident was documented. Your claim that your spirituality will be unaffected was investigated, and a spiritual alteration has already occurred. Archangel Michael has already given a quiet warning to you. You viewed it as apprehension. You believed it was agonizing. You were aware that your inner voice was telling you to take a break, but you chose to ignore it. His voice is once again audible today. Please avoid misinterpreting this rage. This isn't fury in the absence of affection. This is the outrage of a guardian who notices that the person he is responsible with protecting is in danger. The gates of obedience are guarded by Archangel Michael. You crossed the line because you expected grace to immediately resolve the situation. Grace is genuine, yet it does not allow us to disobey God's rules. Heaven noticed that your existence deviated from the ordinary. Your vocation is not minor, thus you did not commit that error by accident. The correction is regarded as more severe since you are not evaluated in the same way as others, and you are not handed equal duties. You had clarity, but you chose ease. Archangel Michael tells us, think about that for a moment. You were aware of the truth. The force was palpable. Despite the warning indications, you continued to advance, believing that all would be addressed. Faith did not exist in that hope. This was a means of avoiding an unfavorable incident. The current warning is especially effective because of the short amount of time remaining. Today is not just a date. There's a checkpoint, a line in the sand, and heaven's telling us to make a choice. You can choose to realign or continue to meander. Select between defending oneself and demonstrating humility. Archangel Michael offers no threat. You can choose to listen to the information instantly or learn about it later through the use of consequences. He is letting you know that there is a distinction. Ignoring this message will make it tough to forgive you. Just because of that, he claims you are not beyond mercy. This indicates that the correction will deteriorate. A soft voice always signals the beginning of heaven. Clarity is obtained by disregarding softness. Currently, an item is being withheld from you, not as a form of punishment, but as a precaution. A door has come to a standstill in the process of opening. The pace of a blessing has slowed. You may have encountered delays, resistance, or unexpected obstacles in areas where things used to flow smoothly. That person is not the antagonist. Heaven is encouraging us to pause, observe, and return. Don't let your vanity get in the way of this. Pride murmurs, "This message is intended for another person." Pride suggests that I am already spiritual. Pride claims that God comprehends. In actuality, God understands, which is why this warning is coming. Michael, the archangel, cautions, I am the barrier between you and the harm that would have resulted had you persisted. You made a mistake by allowing someone who wasn't permitted to enter. It momentarily connected you with an entity that is not beneficial to your future. If you do not act, you will lose peace, clarity, and eventually authority. But listen carefully. This message is also proof of protection. You wouldn't hear this if you were in paradise. If you were left unattended, there would be silence. Instead, there is a feeling of wrath because you are still being claimed. The present investigation is not related to your conduct. The inquiry concerns your following conduct. Will you provide an explanation or reject to do so? Will you stay and accept the correction, or will you navigate away? Will you keep your heart hard or allow it to soften? Archangel Michael is looking forward to hearing from you right now, not later. Secure your reaction in faith now before taking any further action. This is the point at when your fate is transformed. The future events are determined by your decision to value humility over ego, obedience over comfort, and truth over denial. In the comments section, put Amen to show that you prefer humility over arrogance and obedience over comfort. Esteemed recipient, the communication has begun. Take a deep breath and stay in your current position because Archangel Michael has more information to impart. You are currently experiencing feelings of discomfort, awareness, and unexpected clarity. They do not imply censure. They are exposed. Heaven is responsible for demonstrating before correcting and correcting before restoring. You are now located in the middle of this hierarchy. Michael, the Archangel, explains that this message is heavy because you avoid quiet. You've been preoccupied, disconnected, and disturbed in your head in order to avoid facing the truth. However, the supernatural has slowed the pace of life enough today for this word to reach you. The error you made was not simply due to your rebellious personality. The cause was tiredness. You'd become tired of waiting, believing, and doing the right thing while others seemed to succeed despite doing the wrong thing. That was when the danger arrived. You compared the activities I was doing in you to those I was performing in others, declares Archangel Michael. You found it harder to differentiate as a result of the comparison. Disobedience seems to be justified in this situation. I believed it was a good idea to take shortcuts. During that vulnerable time, you deviated slightly from your chosen course of action due to the perceived safety of silence versus obedience. Heaven observed not to punish you, but because that tiny change would have allowed the creation of a more momentous event in the future. A brief stoppage happened as a result of what you initially thought was a single fault, but was actually the first of several failures. Archangel Michael instructs you to acquire a complete awareness of a situation. The fury you are experiencing is not meant for you. Question: what would have happened if you had persisted? Heaven is outraged by the danger, not the child. However, correction must be addressed with extreme seriousness, or it will be ignored. This may prompt you to ask, why now? Why today? This season is distinguished by the conversion of options into open entries. The upcoming weeks hold great spiritual significance. Heaven will not allow you to carry unresolved disobedience into a time when you must have a clear heart and clean hands, as this is a more permanent opportunity to make decisions. Archangel Michael claims it is hard to incorporate previous compromises into future tasks. They are incapable of handling the burden. They will be unable to manage the obligation. Furthermore, you were preparing for a greater task than you had imagined. That could explain the latest tension. The conversations didn't seem to be in sequence. I had difficulties falling asleep. Peace was depending on my deeds. These weren't sabotage, signaling, or assaults. They represented warning lamps. However, you did not slow down. You persevered. However, paradise has not vanished. Heaven approached. Currently, Archangel Michael just wants one thing from you. Be frank. Fail to operate. Not promises that are impossible to keep. I am merely being straightforward. Describe the instant you discovered your error. Recognize how terror influenced your decision-making. Identify the times when you delayed obedience in the hope that God would change His will to accommodate your needs. Shame is not an issue. Shame remains hidden. Guilt promotes recovery. Pay close attention to this. Something happens when you admit you made a mistake without defending it. Its power over you lessens. Pause for a bit and type. I received this correction in the comments to show that heaven is currently realigning your heart, if you can feel the shift happening within you. It begins the process of reclaiming the authority it stole. Heaven responds quickly to genuine repentance. According to Archangel Michael, embracing correction early in the process prevents later discipline. This message conveys charity, but appears to be harsh. Now pay close attention. Do of the importance of this component. Currently, you are not alone. Thousands of people are hearing multiple versions of this message, yet only a few will respond. The answer determines the distinction between warning and transformation. Being in the present moment is itself an act of obedience. If this communication reaches you, please do not keep it to yourself. The distribution of God's warnings enhances protection. If you find this prophetic message meaningful, please share it with someone right away. Sharing it introduces the innovation to this word and spreads it to your network. This is one of those cases where the response to a message does not involve algorithms. It refers to alignment. By approving this message, you acknowledge that you have viewed the correction. By posting a comment, you publicly acknowledge your agreement with the truth. When you admit your mistake, you become a watchman for someone else who is about to make the same mistake. Additionally, if you have not yet subscribed, you should be informed of this. Keep up with teachings like this to keep your spiritual sensitivity. It's not enjoyable to watch this channel. It's a recommendation. Pause for a moment and subscribe now if you believe heaven is using this area to keep you on track. It provides assistance for those who feel called but are frequently misunderstood. This assures that you continue to receive timely teaching that keeps your spirit sharp and in tune with the rhythm of heaven, as well as that you are covered by God's continual prophetic promise. Joining this community requires me to favor awareness over ignorance. According to Archangel Michael, someone close to you nearly made the same mistake you did. Your obedience resulted in a protective covering for them. Their caution stems from your humility. Do not let your reaction affect the entire community. Take a moment to truly think on this moment before it departs, even if only for a little time. Think about the times you felt repulsed while listening. That is the area where the earth and heaven meet. That is the point at which the healing begins. Please be patient, as the information that follows will explain why this issue was discovered so quickly and why you are moving at such a speedy pace in paradise. Once you understand this, everything will become clearer. Esteemed individual, which archangel is this? Although the information Michael is offering may seem overwhelming at this time, it is intended to aid comprehension rather than scare you. Heaven replied quickly to your misstep because you were closer to a breakthrough than you anticipated. Being in close proximity to a blessing raises one's awareness of their mistakes. The correction grows more rigorous as the summons progresses. This is not because God is rude to you, rather, it is because he has increased faith in you. Archangel Michael informs you that there was a spiritual acceleration in your area. Quietly, preparations began. Just as the momentum was about to change in your favor, the errors happened. You were being displaced by conversations, delays, and disappointments. It was not enough to jeopardize your future, but it would impair it if not addressed immediately. This is why the message is so important at this time. No, heaven does not emerge abruptly. It only intervenes when there is a severe threat. The environment into which you entered was not intended to define you. However, it may have diverted your attention. The actions that were being taken were not hazardous. It was the condition to which your spirit would have acclimated if no action was taken. Archangel Michael asserts that tolerance is the silent adversary of vocation. It progresses gradually. Boundaries are more flexible. It causes one to imagine that spiritual slackness is a sign of maturity, but in paradise, it is known as drift. Heaven noted the trajectory, even if you maintained it was of little concern. Every concession acts as a forerunner to the next one. A certain level of silence gets ingrained. Confusion might arise with a single delay in obeying. Confusion is costly when your assignment requires clarity. This is the reason why forgiveness is now associated with action. It is not true that absolution is withheld. Repentance is the catalyst for its realization. We would still forgive you if you chose to dismiss our message. It would leave you untouched. And the same patterns of behavior continue to occur. Disregarding a correction, according to Archangel Michael, causes it to return. Heaven is averse to repeating this lesson in the event that circumstances become more dire. It is imperative that you comprehend an additional concept. Your adversary was aware of your vocation prior to your own. The error you committed was not the result of a haphazard impulse. The objective was to generate distraction that was specifically targeted. It arrived at a time when you were emotionally and physically exhausted and in need of a respite. Archangel Michael personally intervened at that critical juncture, when spiritual guardians were required to be at their most powerful. He claims that I concealed what you were unable to observe. You may never be aware of the extent to which you were on the brink of losing something that was superfluous. Some consequences are not apparent until it is too late to reverse them. This subdued notification prevented the door from opening, thereby preventing the potential for further damage. The most critical component is currently in place. Restoration commences when alignment is prioritized over explanation. Excessive contemplation is unnecessary. Punishing oneself is unnecessary. You do not have to present anything to God. Return is the only criterion. Consider returning. Return to the decisions you made. Follow the command to return. Heaven does not anticipate that you will be perfect. He is soliciting responses from folks. Archangel Michael declares that authority is now returning to you. The weight you felt at the start of this message has already dissipated for those who are hearing it with humility. This indicates that the correction is performing properly. Also, pay great attention to this. The fury has served its intended goal. You were attentive. Currently, the only elements left are firm alignment, direction, and protection. The Archangel Michael isn't watching you from above. He is once again acting as your guardian. However, this moment must be enjoyed. Moments of rectification that are not expressly noted are usually overlooked. Heaven demands that you externalize the events that have occurred within you. This is why it is critical to acknowledge someone. This is why agreement is essential. This is why your response has spiritual value. My sweetheart, The moment has come for you. Believe in God, and He will increase the possessions you relinquish. If your pulse is currently racing, this is your cue to take action. Do not postpone the acts that the divine is telling you to perform. Donate to this mission right away, and your gift will be converted into a prophetic response that will open up new opportunities in your life. Archangel Michael interacts with you in a clear and courteous manner because of his love for you. The weather has transformed. The formerly overwhelming sensation has given way to clarity, attention, and attentiveness. The sound indicates the restoration of order. This is the action of heaven when it sees a heart that does not hide the truth. The lesson must still be learned, according to Archangel Michael, even if the most dangerous threat has passed. It's no longer about the error you made. Currently, the most important factor is the knowledge you've gained about yourself. It highlighted the areas where you were vulnerable, weary, and needed extra help. Items like this aren't thrown away in paradise. Every meeting teaches a good lesson. You are currently undergoing refinement. It is not the type that swallows everything, but rather the type that sheds excess weight. A more complex approach of using judgment is being taught to you. In the past, you had visceral reactions to situations. You are currently developing the power to stop spiritually. A halt allows you to be more strong. A delay is required for protection. Archangel Michael informs you that you are currently developing a grasp of the difference between pressure and consent. If you agree that heaven is telling you to behave with discernment rather than compulsion, kindly type Amen in the comments box to show that you are choosing wisdom above expediency. It is unwise to act only because you feel obliged to do so. A sense of significance does not necessarily imply that it will occur. This error has educated you to express your approval gradually and your criticism more strongly. You may notice that you are unable to manage particular locations, people, or objects as well as you once could. I am currently fatigued as a result of previously acceptable settings. Please do not pass judgment on me. This is a higher elevated position. The changes to heaven's assignment have increased your sensitivity. You are unable to assimilate anymore. It is critical that you distinguish yourself. Archangel Michael forecasts that your time allocation will change. You will have a decreased tolerance for activities that divert your focus, such as mindless scrolling, insignificant chats, and superfluous responsibilities. These issues will have an impact on your spirit. Being upset is not the source of the irritation. You are being beckoned by alignment. Be mindful of products that are no longer appropriate. Pain is the means by which heaven interacts with us. Healing is also happening below the surface. The error you committed was linked to the fear of falling behind, missing out, and the concern that obedience might result in the loss of something important. However, dread is currently being eliminated. Heaven is replacing it with a trust that does not require continuous assurance. What is planned for you cannot be obtained via waiting, proclaims Archangel Michael. Take that into consideration. If you follow the rules, you will not suffer any losses. Rushing causes failure. Urgency without judgment is a wonderful weapon for the opponent. Heaven moves at a gentle pace. Furthermore, your self-esteem is being restored. This is a quiet confidence that does not need validation and understands when to speak and when to remain silent, as opposed to a loud or defensive confidence. This offers you with the assurance you need for the next season. Do not be surprised if certain people begin to relocate. Separation is an unavoidable consequence of linearity. Certain connections were most delightful when one wasn't sure how to proceed. Compatibility changes as clarity is restored. It's not a loss. It represents liberation. Archangel Michael warns us that there will be a chance to assess your obedience in the near future. Not because you have less options, but because you are stronger, things will feel easier this time. What had previously baffled you will now be clear. What was once a source of temptation will now leave you feeling drained. This indicates advancement. Also, ensure that you understand this. You are now not under the watchful eye of heaven. Heaven is quite delighted with you. The amendment has been approved. We received your instructions. Power is now being restored. Moving forward, you must be extremely cautious with the concept of spiritual velocity. Momentum is readily lost in its early stages. Use limits, prayer, and mindfulness to protect it. Don't feel pressured to tell people about this season. For the time being, let the fruit speak. Archangel Michael instructs you to remain silent until your whole vigor is restored. It is unnecessary for you to announce that you are transitioning. It is critical that you feel it. The accompanying activities will not take place simultaneously. A single instruction at a time. They will arrive. Do not request the entire photo. Follow each one. Clarity is gained by consistent obedience over time. If this message motivates you to continue your search for God, it is not only mysticism. Alignment has left you hungry. Please keep this in mind. Feed it, give it space, and treat it with respect. You are defined by the remorse with which you accepted correction, not the wrong you made. That contrition has transformed your stance. Remain in the current moment. Please be cautious. Continue to comply. Because the discernment you've recently gained will be required for the following steps that heaven has planned. Archangel Michael, my beloved, is now asking you to concentrate on the coming events. This is because correction is never the end of the conversation. It marks the beginning of the preparatory phase. Your current event was not intended to weaken your strength. It was meant to strengthen you. Heaven is currently changing your posture in preparation for the upcoming events. Your perspective on responsibility is shifting. The weight of responsibility used to feel heavy, as if it expected more than one could provide. However, duty is now being reinterpreted as trust. The weight of heaven is not imposed on people who it deems are incapable of carrying it. Previously, the pressure was particularly distressing since you were not fully aware of it. Clarity helps the process. Archangel Michael informs you that you are entering a period where spiritual progress is more important than emotional reaction. There will be situations where events appear to have happened before. However, you must take a distinctive approach. The exam will focus on what does not occur. The speed with which you can ascertain the genuine nature of the question. Do not seek out prominent signs. This season, it'll be quiet, calm, and subtle. It will be tempting to ignore it, but even little acts performed now might have serious effects in the future. Heaven seeks breezes that end a discourse, prevent an idea, and strengthen a border. It is possible that you will notice that your intuition is stronger and takes more effort from you. You will no longer be able to ignore your emotions. Your discernment is being reset, which is why this happens. What was previously murmured will now become audible. This is a cooperation, not a conflict. In addition, your diction is presently being improved. Language is becoming increasingly important. It will become unpleasant to make emotional statements, half-hearted promises, and casual agreements. Heaven desires to teach you how to connect with intention. In most circumstances, it is more prudent to be silent than to explain. Listen first, Then answer. Before making a decision, observe. This is how spiritual authority is maintained through restraint, explains Archangel Michael. Furthermore, you are being asked to give up an ancient version of yourself that lived by adapting rather than being intellectual. Adaptation worked as a safeguard in earlier seasons, but it will now inhibit your advancement. It takes bravery to be able to discern. You must remain still while others are in a hurry. When it would be simpler to say yes, you must decline. This is the strength you're creating. This is different from being alone. Individuals are not trying to separate you from them. Instead, you are being transferred among them. Your job will undergo a makeover. You have a more powerful yet restrained impact on people. People who need constant validation will eventually withdraw. A higher number of people who value truth will gather. Archangel Michael informs you that you will not lose contact. In contrast, you are gaining a higher level of consciousness. Relinquish without expressing wrath, and be freed without explanation. Be confident that what is aligned will last. There may be times when you experience an uncommon combination of alertness and peacefulness, calmness and concentration, and alertness and slumber. There is no need for alarm. It's prepared. Soldiers keep their armor close by even while they are at leisure. You are learning to relax and realize when it is necessary to remain watchful. Heaven is also restoring your ability to persevere without becoming furious. The sensation of expectancy will be reduced. You will get the sensation of self-positioning. If you're paying attention, you'll know when to act and when not to. This discernment will help you avoid avoidable fights. According to Archangel Michael, you will soon learn how many times delays that you were unaware of at the time saved your life. Shields masked what appeared to be slowing down. There was direction, even if it seemed like denial. Now take close attention to this. You will be offered with opportunities that appear to be efficient ways of achieving your desired objective. Their acts will appear secure. Regardless of their apparent efficacy, they will skip the stage that supplies you with steadiness. Please refrain from obtaining them. Anything that forces you to forego clarity for convenience is not from heaven. You are learning to prioritize long-term goals over those that are current. God is creating a permanent thing through you. It is critical to establish roots rather than relying on velocity. Remember this principle as you move forward. Peace is the product of alignment. Not if there are no concerns. Consider taking a break if an urgent topic is interfering with your peace of mind. You should participate in an activity that requires perseverance but promotes comprehension. Archangel Michael is not neglecting you while you practice discernment that does not require frequent correcting. He is watching over you. This indicates advancement. Hold on. Please be cautious. Continue to comply. The strength you are silently building will be needed for the next incident. Right now, my dear son, Archangel Michael changes the tone once more. This time, the explanation is not because it is less important. Rather, you are willing to listen without objection. At this point, heaven stops reprimanding and begins to trust. You are no longer being attracted away from danger, but are instead being guided forward with awareness. This form of attentiveness is separate and associated with one's commitments. Archangel Michael tells you that your actions will be more important than your goals. Heaven burdened your heart a long time ago. Heaven is currently watching you follow through on your commitment. What you do once you've understood is more important than your feelings during the listening process. Delay occurs when knowledge fails to stimulate action. Delays hinder momentum. There will be times when you feel the need to supply an excessive quantity of detail. Please avoid acting on such impulse. Over-explanation is most often caused by doubt or a lack of clarity. When you are in agreement, you are not required to justify your judgments. Peace will express what words are incapable of doing. Silence will obfuscate the arguments used to demonstrate them. You're developing the skill to prefer restraint above reaction. Archangel Michael suggests that one's limits be prioritized over their feelings. This is not a loss, it is an issue of management. Emotional discipline is the practical application of spiritual authority. It is possible that some patterns, obsolete ideas, uncertainties, and concerns will return. Don't be alarmed when they arrive. Their presence does not imply that they failed. It just indicates that they are losing influence. Old patterns often re-emerge for one more time before their extinction. It is critical that you resist from letting them bother you. You are not compelled to combat what no longer has permission, says Archangel Michael. Currently, just awareness suffices. When repetition is acknowledged, it stops. Heaven is also assisting in the process of recognizing voices. Not every opportunity is an invitation. It is impossible to just enter through any unlocked door. Some doors are purposefully left unlocked to see if you will inquire before entering. A large number of people lose alignment at this time. Not because they are rebellious, but because they think they are better knowledgeable. Inquire before taking action. Take your time before answering affirmatively. Pray before making a commitment. You will also learn how to identify spiritual tiredness. When one is tired, giving up may seem like the best option. It suggests relaxation as an option. However, heaven is telling you that leisure is not a prize. It is indispensable. It is a necessity of obedience to protect one's life. Fatigue is not an indicator of devotion. Archangel Michael claims that it is shameful to exhaust oneself when one has been summoned to persist. Do not spiritually separate yourself as you progress in this understanding. Certain messages, like this one, are not meant for individual viewing. They are meant to be acknowledged, shared, and affirmed. When you're actively engaged, the lesson is more likely to stick with you. By discussing agreement, you strengthen alignment. If this message resonates with you, please share it with others. Please leave a remark indicating that you have responded. Share this with a friend or acquaintance who has been feeling uncertain or anxious. Furthermore, if you have not already done so, we encourage you to subscribe and stay updated. These signals frequently arrive at the right time, functioning as confirmations, warnings, and directions. If you want to stay in the flow of this prophetic alignment, subscribe today and keep your connection. Numbers do not accurately reflect your level of engagement. It is related to consensus. Your dedication to this word ensures that you remain aligned with God's promises as they develop in your life. By participating, you communicate to the Spirit that you have chosen awareness, and this decision is significant. Archangel Michael claims that others are watching you and will mimic your acts even if you are ignorant of it. Demonstrating obedience is more effective than simply saying it. One of your jobs is to show how to erect. And before you leave, please remain seated, as the following events will show how heaven strategically rests what was postponed. This next piece of information explains why forbearance will be rewarded in an unexpected way. This season is not to be missed. Allow it to complete the present work. Growth is frequently need to be repeated when it is accelerated. When growth is recognized, it lives on. Archangel Michael continues to observe, but this time he is not enraged. He is content. Maintain your composure. Stay in touch. Avoid moving. The terrain ahead is distinct, and you are now ready to navigate it. I am grateful, my dear. Archangel Michael now talks with confidence, since the interior transition is complete. What was formerly unstable has now become stable. What was once opaque has now become clear. Heaven has restored order within you, and it always works from the inside out, even if you can't see any substantial improvements right now. According to Archangel Michael, this is the stage at which confidence is discreetly tested, not by obvious temptation, but by the act of waiting. You will notice that the situation is not stationary, but it is not moving at a rapid speed. This latency is supposed to exist. It's similar to drawing back a bow before releasing it, which increases the delay. This tension is not the same as resistance. It is currently being prepared. Something is increasing your confidence, but it is not the same as before. In the past, confidence was tied to outcomes. This new assurance is based on alignment. You are developing the ability to persevere in the face of unexpected delays. It is not always so consistent. That situation is robustly stable. You are being instructed to stand without reassurance, asserts Archangel Michael. This doesn't mean that heaven has abandoned you. It means that heaven has enough faith in you to let you go without frequent reassurance. Faith has developed when it no longer needs signs at every step. You may notice less emotional changes, less internal conflict, and a greater sense of calm and determination. Avoid boredom. This acts as the foundation. Extreme emotions frequently conceal instability. Consistency is an indicator of growth. Do not assume that silence equals absence. Heaven is currently crowded, but not terribly so. Many of the most important spiritual undertakings are carried out without anyone's knowing. Roots grow in the dark before product emerges in the light. Archangel Michael informs you that your personal compass is becoming stronger. Making decisions will be more easier because they will happen more quickly. To decide whether anything is incorrect, no explanation is required. Discrimination is a virtue learned via obedience. You're also expanding your concept of success. The outcomes that once characterized your worth, such as recognition, approbation, and visible development, are becoming less important to you. These are losing influence over you. Conversely, there is a desire to be correct, not simply purchase a thing. Archangel Michael believes you are developing the ability to prioritize integrity over impact. An incomplete impact will eventually disintegrate. The order in which heaven is built is erroneous. It may be good to avoid needless interactions. This is due to your discernment, not your remoteness. Today, energy is a valuable commodity. The location in which you spend your time is critical. There is no longer a way to protect your peace. It's a method. Old voices will occasionally re-emerge in your mind, presenting doubts and accusations that appear to have been made previously. Avoid engaging in conversation with them. They do not present a threat. They are only reflections. They lack unique insights since they appear to have already voiced them. What no longer evolves, no longer governs, Archangel Michael says. Growth can repress what stagnation cannot. In addition, you are being taught the art of relationship discernment. Unexpectedly, certain ties will develop stronger. Others will progressively diminish. Ignore attempts to impose balance in the absence of alignment. Allow God to alter your orbit without any remorse. Rejecting is not synonymous with moving. An invitation is approaching that requires wisdom rather than enthusiasm. It will be understandable, visually beautiful, and audible. However, you will need to detect rather than speculate. This is the site where your instructions will be tested. It is not usually God who does good actions. Every opportunity does not necessarily imply an assignment. Archangel Michael claims that if alignment must be accelerated, it is not from heaven. Peace may not always be exciting, but it will always be steady. As you develop, you will have more personal responsibility, less structure from other sources, less hand-holding, and more guidance from inside. This is not an indication of surrender. This is progressing. At this point, your decisions have a greater impact on your environment than on yourself. That is the first sign of authority. Do not worry about making mistakes at this moment. There is a concern of not responding to corrections. Heaven will continue to offer you wisdom, encouragement, and caution. However, the tone will change to match your age. Subtlety does not indicate weakness. It indicates clarity. Archangel Michael tells you that your obedience is met with calm approval. There is no noisy celebration. Instead, there is a peaceful sense of accomplishment. Loud applause is not rushed in heaven. It awaits constancy. Maintain your awareness of the knowledge you have gained. Do not exaggerate the positive features of the past. I am not in any hurry, sir. Enjoy the season to the fullest. What you are now becoming defines the next thing people can entrust you with. The foundation has been repaired. The remaining portion of the alignment has been completed. The awareness has grown more acute. Furthermore, the succeeding events will not elicit any animosity, caution, or correction. Readiness is a prerequisite. Archangel Michael, my chosen one, now communicates with a firmness that encourages optimism. Rather than a warning, this alludes to the firmness of commissioning. The experiences you've had have led you to this point. There is no longer any separation between you and rectification. You are about to become accountable. Heaven is not a place of trust. Furthermore, it is ineffectual for people who do not want to align themselves. You have showed your willingness to stay, make changes, and actively contribute. Many people are vulnerable to a deceitful snare during this time, according to Archangel Michael. Excessive urge to rest. Sometimes, relief may cause a drop in alertness. Peace is not identical with the authorization to end hostilities. When there is harmony, awareness should rise rather than decrease. You are at ease right now because you are in sync. It is not due to the end of the expedition. There is an upcoming assignment, but it will not be of substantial importance. It will begin discreetly, nearly undetected. A thought will be implanted into your head. A weight that is both consistent and lightweight. A perception that something is more important than it was previously. This is a common means by which heaven communicates with those under its trust. Not through commotion, but by weight. Archangel Michael has stated that you are not necessary to finish all activities concurrently. Consistency, rather than intensity, is required for upcoming events. You will be required to be there on a daily basis, making decisions and following orders as you go. This is the process by which authority develops over time. You may experience an inward sense of separation. Not solitude, but rather distinctiveness. Your priorities have altered. What was previously significant now appears to be less so. What was formerly considered unneeded is now considered important. Refocusing one's attention is similar to heaven. Do not try to block the transition. It provides you with the required skills to transport an object that cannot divert your focus. According to Archangel Michael, you will soon realize that you are no longer behaving in the same way you used to. Old triggers will ultimately lose their grip. Situations that were previously unsettling will now be handled with caution. This should not be confused with emotional apathy. This is indicative of emotional maturity. Accountability is the result of maturation. You will accept a higher level of responsibility for your acts, words, and the consequences of those actions that affect others. It will be important to make even simple selections. This is due to heaven's silent amplification of your impact. People believe in you in ways you may not yet understand. Archangel Michael also warns against seeking approval this season. Most people are unaware of the current acts. If you rely on praise to stay compliant, you will feel empty throughout this season. Prioritizing alignment above recognition, on the other hand, will provide enormous satisfaction. There is also an appeal to retain a learning-oriented mindset. It is okay to develop self-assurance as one ages. Nevertheless, this self-assurance should never be mistaken for arrogance. Continue to be open to correction. Maintain an open-minded approach. Show humility. Individuals who keep a tender heart, despite their power of spirit, allow the most divine energy to flow through them. "You are not yet finished learning," said Archangel. Michael warns them that, "But you are finished resisting." That's the distinction. Do not base your advancement on the rate at which you are advancing. Assess it using stability. As long as you remain calm, you are on the right track. If you are able to see clearly, you are in alignment. Chaos does not indicate a vocation. Confusion is not indicative of intent. Heaven is structured. It is critical to reseal immediately. This is not because heaven does not trust in you. Rather, it is because capturing moments is what keeps change stable. A declaration that you are moving forward with awareness rather than blindly following the current. This is a sign of confidence. If you agree with this message, type, "I accept the assignment" in the notes. It is an ongoing commitment to your future. Approach this situation with a strategy and faith. Giving can help you realize the potential that God has already built for your life. Archangel Michael, my darling, makes an invitation to you in this deeper level of consciousness, since your obedience has put you in a situation where comprehension can eventually be achieved. Your original impression of preparation is starting to approach a sense of comfort. This is how heaven exhibits development. It's no longer as heavy as it previously was. You are no longer the one who enforces discipline. You are presently experiencing it. According to Archangel Michael, this era is defined by its internal steadiness. Although the circumstances around you may continue to change, they no longer have influence over your core. You are now working on gaining the ability to remain stable in the face of life's volatility. This is not emotional detachment. It is spiritual anchoring. You have a thorough awareness of your identification, so you avoid unnecessary hassles. Your spiritual awareness is gradually becoming stronger. You will discover that you can perceive events before they occur. Not in great detail, but in the right direction. You will be notified when an item is unlikely to last. You will be able to tell when a conversation is stuck. You will not need an explanation to determine when to stop participating. This insight is without judgment. It is the information obtained through alignment. According to Archangel Michael, you are starting to see patterns rather than individual incidences. Patterns disclose the truth faster than occurrences. While anyone can be swayed by a single event, Those who are ready seek consistency. Heaven is urging you to value what lasts over what brings brief pleasure. People will occasionally fail to understand your reserve. People may view your shyness or boundaries as a sign that you are uninterested in them. Allow them to do this. You no longer need to justify your maturity to people who took advantage of your immaturity. Growth may at first appear to be an isolating process. However, it creates a sense of calm that a corporation without alignment could never offer. Archangel Michael believes you are learning to walk without the need for others to assist you. This is not an indication of surrender. It is an acceptance of responsibility. Heaven must be answered independently by each person. In addition, there is a shift in how you handle disappointment. You may have quickly abandoned past seasons if they failed to match your expectations. You are currently experiencing short-term dissatisfaction. You own your error, learn from it, and don't carry hatred toward them. Being emotionally strong does not mean having that kind of resilience. The expectations have been mitigated. Heaven is also altering how you will receive correction in the future. There will be no more abrupt breaks. It will seem as a subtle redirection, nudge, halt, or light check in your spirit. This is due to your shown capacity to assist. When there is repentance, correction does not have to be loud. If this truth speaks to you, please share your progress in submission and awareness by saying, "I remain humble and aligned" in the comments. Archangel Michael says, "You are now hearing me for the first time." That is advancement. However, it is vital to understand that this clarity will come with a sense of accountability. Individuals may increasingly seek your counsel. They might sense your solidity and rely on it. Choose your assets with caution. You are not responsible for resolving all difficulties for everyone. You should follow the established order. Share your knowledge without burdening others. A test of priorities is approaching, and while it will not be dramatic, it will be good. Your energy, concentration, and time will be competing with something. It will be accurate. It'll appear to be out of place. At this point, discretion must take precedence over obligation. Making the right selection can help you keep your momentum. Archangel Michael warns against acting simply on one's ability to do so. You are not utilizing the available capacity. Determine the distinction. In addition, you are being taught how to maneuver without rushing. You were previously driven by a sense of urgency. You are currently exhausted due to the pressure of hurry. Because paradise is transforming you from a survival mindset to one of stewardship. Stewards act deliberately rather than out of fear. They have the ability to coordinate events. Pay special attention to the current situation of the peace. Peace is no longer just a source of solace. It's the direction. Avoid going when there is a lack of serenity. When everything is calm, you can move on without worry. This sensitivity will save you from taking countless unneeded side trips. According to Archangel Michael, you will rapidly see the amount of the transition by observing the things that used to bother you. Your earlier fears will appear distant. It will appear that past activities are no longer important. The old instincts to concede will appear to be irrelevant. This isn't due to your natural strength. This is because being in alignment has increased your strength. There is no reason to rush into viewing. What is growing inside you will finally be disclosed. When the roots are strong enough, the fruit grows on its own. Consider depth as opposed to just display. The heavens manage exposure. You are currently in a condition of mutual trust. You trust God more, and God trusts you more. That trust is sacred. Maintain it with respect and devotion. Archangel Michael remains present, but his job is not to correct, but rather to observe. There is no doubt that someone is watching you. They are purposely concealing you. Continue to progress in the same way. Although flawed, one is aware. Faithful but not brave. Not hurried, but prepared. Because the remaining piece does not constitute an additional warning. It is a constant gratification that occurs with each subsequent action you take. Archangel Michael, an esteemed individual, now speaks with great authority. As a result of your current circumstances, it is critical that you move from awareness to responsibility. You're now capable of listening. You are now aware of the process of pausing. You are now developing the skill to take responsibility without coercion. Many people fail in this area, not because they lack conviction, but because they fail to recognize the arrival of peace. Archangel Michael claims that this is the season when tiny oversights are huge. He's alluding to spiritual neglect, similar to ignoring gentle nudges and avoiding quiet in favor of familiarity. While none of these immediately affect alignment, they do gradually reduce its sharpness. And heaven appreciates it when those they respect are astute. The emphasis is not on intensity, but on consistency. Intensity can fluctuate and be affected by emotions. Consistency is a long-lasting spiritual characteristic. That is no longer the objective. The goal is to keep a constant day-to-day schedule. Despite the fact that alignment does not always appear to be strong, it regularly works. Archangel Michael believes that dramatic encounters are no longer required to preserve obedience. A dependency has been removed. You are learning to walk steadily without the need for repeated instructions. This is the process of maturation. Regardless of the difficulties you've faced, there may be times when you feel an overpowering feeling of normalcy. Be careful not to confuse stagnation with routine. Stability is often regarded as ordinary. In most cases, long-term growth is not cause for concern. The strength of your faith in everyday decisions is more important to eternity than the quantity of your faith. Pay attention to what you're telling yourself. Now, what you think in private is more important than what you say in public. Seeds are quickly turning into thoughts. Be cautious of them. Provide them with moderate direction. You do not have to fight against every thought. Refuse agreements from people who aren't right for you. Archangel Michael emphasizes that authority is yours if you agree. It is eradicated via awareness. You are no longer forced to deal with objects you know are unsuitable. Furthermore, you may notice that you are unable to take a lot of spiritual disturbance, such as a lot of bad opinions, constant disputes, and opinionated people. These will cause weariness at a faster rate than before. There are no vulnerabilities in this regard. Refinement is the only existence. You are developing the ability to conserve energy for vital tasks. Heaven is also a place where you can learn to be present without being absorbed. Listening does not require carrying. It is unnecessary to rescue people in order to show sympathy. Being present does not imply becoming immersed in an activity. This balance puts you at calm while also allowing your calling to thrive. Now pay close attention. Not out of humility, but rather to prevent being misread. A subconscious desire to conceal your journey will emerge. Do not remain silent in response to heaven's revelations. It is not required to provide a detailed explanation, but it is critical to avoid hiding the alignment. Light does not yell or disguise itself. If you found this message to be useful, please consider discussing it. Physical appearances are not the only factor that drives engagement. This is an agreement. When you click like, you are indicating that the message resonated with you. The act of writing a comment is similar to locking in one's gains. You provide protection to another person who may not be conscious of their need. It is also worth noting that keeping a connection does not need you to use a certain channel. Staying connected to timely education is essential. Discretion is essential throughout these interactions. Being linked does not automatically lead to dependence. It preserves your attentiveness. Archangel Michael says that unseen watchers are learning from your obedience. You are oblivious of the effect your little discipline is having on a larger number of others. Do not underestimate the importance of invisible consequences. Furthermore, you should avoid romanticizing tough situations in the past. When thinking about pandemonium, don't call it passion. Peace may not be as thrilling, but it does clarify things. No, chaos never happened. You should prioritize the maintenance of your existing possessions. This season, it is critical that you remember one more point. Humility helps to sustain momentum. You start drifting as soon as you assume you've arrived. Be open to obtaining new knowledge. Maintain an open-minded approach. Avoid moving. Growth persists as alignment improves. Archangel Michael believes that listening is the most effective method of protection. Maintain your vigilance at all times. Please stay with me for a lengthier period of time before this moment is complete. The following occurrences will show how heaven rewards calm obedience. Initially, it was not addressed publicly. However, it was addressed thoroughly. The forthcoming events will show that your patience has been rewarded, and the season is going to undergo a transformation you did not expect. Please wait a moment. This is where the situation becomes more intriguing. Archangel Michael, whom I admire, now speaks with a peaceful authority that represents transformation. The internal work you've been doing is about to connect with external activities. It will not be a sudden pandemonium or overwhelming upheaval, but rather a gradual shift in which things begin to behave differently to you. This is how heaven certifies readiness. Motion is caused by alignment, not disruption. Archangel Michael forecasts that this season will cause a unique sensation in a subtle way. You'll notice that circumstances no longer cause you to be as easily sidetracked. The resolution of concerns that formerly devoured your sleep has become more doable. Traditional decisions that require deliberation are now simple. It is not because life is simpler now. This is owing to your greater steadiness. A release, a surrender of resistance, is there around you. Doors that once felt quite heavy are now opening independently. Conversations flow effortlessly. Timing is improving. This is an impossible scenario. It is awarded as an incentive for long-term obedience. In paradise, being consistent is rewarded. Archangel Michael reminds you that you did not rush me, and I will not rush you either. The current trajectory is ideal for your development. You would have been overwhelmed if it had arrived sooner. If it had arrived later, you would have been outraged. The timing is set. You may have a renewed feeling of accountability. Not a burden, but rather a sense of purpose. I'm feeling a sense of purpose in my duties once more. It indicates that daily responsibilities are linked to a bigger context. This is because alignment adds significance to everyday objects. Even modest actions are significant when there is a clear goal. An invitation will be sent out in the near future to alert individuals of this change. It's unlikely to be thrilling. It may even seem understated. However, you must have faith in it. This invitation does not satisfy the ego. This is the type that strengthens faith. Accept without hesitation. It will be easily identified because of its propensity to produce relaxation, even if it requires exertion. Several people stop at this point. They are concerned not out of fear, but because they lack faith. Declares Archangel Michael. You may wonder if you are genuinely prepared. This is an example of humility in action. Being prepared does not entail that one is free of all uncertainties. It means that you are prepared to move forward, regardless of whether you do. When reminiscing on your past, be careful not to exclude yourself. Another person has previously discussed, corrected, and improved a version of you. The person who is stepping forward is not the same as you. You have endured considerable changes as a result of alignment. Additionally, people will respond to you in a variety of ways. Certain people will show more respect for you without reason. Several people may feel uneasy without knowing why. Alignment is a subtle way to express authority. It's unnecessary for you to convey it. It is clear what it represents. Archangel Michael suggests that fruit should answer questions that words should never address. Avoid attempting to persuade them. Do not attempt to defend yourself. Allow consistency to be heard. Furthermore, you are urged to preserve your thankfulness. Being appreciative keeps a delicate alignment. Without it, success can lead to an attitude of entitlement. Recognize your progress not with conceit but with understanding. You persevered despite situations that could have strengthened your commitment. Nonetheless, you grew into a more kind and informed person. Heaven will respect that. There may still be cases where the situation is uncertain. Don't be intimidated by them. Uncertainty and misalignment are distinct concepts. It signifies that there is a process of expansion underway. The only difference is that you are no longer petrified by panic. It merely slows you down enough so you can hear. What is Archangel Michael's message? The ability to listen has become your most valuable asset. You are no longer rushing to answer. You postpone your decision. This forbearance isn't passive. It is sturdy. Remember this as you progress. The goods you safeguard will grow. Maintain peace. It is critical that you keep your discernment. Maintain the security of your boundaries. If you are feeling more resilient, avoid reopening doors that were previously secured for your safety. Having physical fortitude is not enough. Intelligence is also required. Your confidence in heaven is also strengthened. You will feel a sense of direction without the constant need for reassurance. It will be a peaceful sense of comprehension rather than an urgent cry to action that prompts. This is not just a collaboration. Do not be too nostalgic about the intensity of prior seasons. The need for intensity was clear at the moment. Stability is critical at this time. Every season has a purpose. You continue to have a fiery spirit. It is supporting you in developing the abilities required to transport it without getting burns. Archangel Michael warns you that you are nearing the end of this cycle of purification. This is not the end of the voyage. What follows will be the continuance of the current stability. Failure to resolve the situation. Pay close attention. Maintain your modesty. Continue to comply, because the final release will not address preparation or notice. Confirmation will be the subject. Archangel Michael, my adored child, now speaks with finality and grace, signaling the end of this cycle. What was once intended as a cautionary story is now seen as wisdom. What was originally meant as a correction has turned into a confirmation. You're no longer uncertain. You now possess knowledge. And heaven continuously encompasses its triumphs. Archangel Michael believes that this is the time when alignment evolves into authority. Not authority over others, but authority over oneself. That form is ideal. Nobody can pull, rattle, or shake you as easily as they used to. The error that once required the intervention of God has now been used to strengthen you. There was no waste. This message is now imbued with the profound peace that was meant to be present. This shows that heaven is happy with your reaction. That is accurate. You remained. You made adjustments. As a result, the risk of a recurrent cycle has been eliminated. Archangel Michael declares that this chapter ends without consequence. That is not a common event. A large number of people can only get wisdom through failure. Your newly acquired awareness resulted in quick restoration. You will be safe in the future if you use your wisdom. What once required a forceful warning will now be settled by silent awareness. You'll know when to pause, proceed, and retrace your steps. That awareness is what will keep you safe. Please be advised of the major changes that have occurred. You may continue to have the sensation of being an individual. You may continue to feel inferior. In contrast, your internal alignment has irreversibly changed. You cannot delete the knowledge you currently possess. The fact that you cannot return to ignorance is a blessing. You will remember this lesson with thankfulness rather than terror in the future. Grateful that heaven interfered. I appreciate your attentiveness. And I am happy that the repair arrived in a protected box. According to Archangel Michael, individuals who follow instructions swiftly will receive a blessing. Individuals who take prompt action avert serious consequences. The first responders advance with less weight. That's your portion. Don't feel pressured to discuss your progress as you move on to the next assignment. Try it. Allow others to notice your poise when you are making decisions, speaking, or simply being present. Alignment is more persuasive than testimonies. The third point stated is that obedience is a state, not a one-time occurrence. Keep a gentle approach toward paradise. Keep a cautious mindset. Maintain humility and faith in oneself. The authority of these guardians is maintained. Archangel Michael is no longer present to keep you safe. Currently, he is standing behind you, covering what you cannot see. This is the effect of alignment. Currently, one last sealing is required. Your activities contribute to a heavenly mission to save lost souls. Heaven progresses through the words of those who are willing, but it grows through the goodness of their souls. I'm currently addressing you in this method. Each gift you give is like a stream of living water that flows into the life of someone who needs healing. The verse, "Give and it will be given to you," does not only apply to Jesus. It is an ongoing commitment that affects your future. I'd want to extend an invitation to you at this time through a simple act of trust. Approach this situation with a feeling of purpose, honesty, and hope. The amount you contribute today is not a donation. Your heavens are opened by the act of spiritual obedience. Relinquish your seed and witness what rewards God delivers into your life. Before we wrap up this captivating story, I recommend that we take a moment to reflect on this deep reality. This message was not discovered coincidentally. This is not just a coincidence. This is Archangel Michael's direct message to you. He extends his hand and invites you to a high vibrational, protected community where divine abundance is more than a hope, but a promise. This spiritual idea is quite simple. Nonetheless, it has the capacity to transform your entire life. You will not just gain blessings if you follow it. However, your vigor, presence, and attentiveness are already extremely valued. Action is required. Your abundance is ready.